Jai Shriman Narayan. Jai Shriman Narayan. I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagadguru Sudarshan Acharya Ji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to our Purva Acharyas. I pay my obeisances to our 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you here physically at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally, and internationally. And I welcome in advance those that's going to be watching this discourse on YouTube and the various groups from around the world subsequently. Our topic, the soul, continues, and it is appropriate that today we are celebrating Holi, and this celebration was held on Wednesday, and for the purposes of this ashram, we have services on Sundays, and therefore we are celebrating Holi today. But behind this story, it is a story of the Supreme Lord representing divine nature and Hiranyakasipu representing non-divine nature. Then Prahlad Maharaj represents divine nature and Shukracharya represents non-divine natures. Both Prahlad Maharaj is a bona fide spiritual master. Shukracharya is also a bona fide spiritual master, but he is representing the non-divine characteristics of a human being, and Prahlad Maharaj is representing the divine characteristics of the divine, attributes and vices. So there is a story in the form of a soapy with the daughter of Hiranyakasipu, but you know this guru do not do soapies. We involved in the actual science of the event and the incident, the absolute truth. Because soapies tend to lose its initial character along the way, but the absolute truth has to remain the absolute truth because it is absolute. Anything that is absolute cannot be changed. So the story here is that, you see, in the Abrahamic religions, somewhere along the line, they lost on how to define negativity, and they gave negativity an entire life, and they called that negativity Satan. But if you look throughout the concept of Satan to date, and this was conceptualized about 4,000 years ago, then it would be that Satan has won. If you go through the scriptures and if you understand Satan through the scriptures, it would mean that Satan has won since the advent of the Abrahamic religion. So, if the ultimate creator is the Supreme Lord, if the ultimate creator is the Supreme Lord, then the Supreme Lord is absolute. Absolute in every aspect. Absolute in every aspect, or he cannot be the Supreme Lord. If you put the Supreme Lord in a boxing ring with Satan, for the Supreme Lord to be absolute, he cannot lose one round in the boxing ring, can he? Otherwise he loses his absoluteness, doesn't he? But in the Abrahamic religion you will find that Satan has won almost every match in the boxing ring to date. Is it true? If you read the scriptures, you will find that Satan has won since a long time ago. So this cannot be a reality because the Supreme Lord cannot, no one can flick 1 millimeter of any negativity on the Supreme Lord. Yes? True. Logical. Commonsensical. Yes. For the Supreme Lord to remain supreme, he must be supreme at every stage. Then, I'm saying this because I've entered the domain of interfaith. I've entered the domain of interfaith, and in interfaith we have embraced each other, the Christians, the Muslims, the Jews, we have embraced each other. But whilst we are embracing each other, it does not mean that those scriptural injunctions that are not factual, that we need to embrace that. We need to point it out if we want to be effective. All of you understand? So we've reached a point, especially this ashram, that I got an email from the G20 this week. They sent us an email commending the Sri Narayan Dham for the interfaith work that is doing in South Africa. And they also wished us the best on my biography. Okay? So this is coming right from the top at international level, at G20 interfaith level. Then we also have a recommendation to meet the Speaker of the National Assembly in Parliament, so that in Parliament we can produce a policy document that ties Parliament with the interfaith. Because that is what is missing, is it not? So I am going to propose, and you're going to hear it for the first time now, and as I say, whatever I do, whatever I prophesize, whatever I say it in these discourses so you can find it a few months later, a few years later, or a decade later, you're going to find it referenced. My prophecies are all referenced. And in fact, I didn't want to include prophecies and miracles. I did not want to include prophecies and miracles in my biography. But the professor, that is the supervisor of this biography, he insisted that I do a chapter on prophecies and miracles. So every month or every 2 months at this ashram, there is a miracle. Yes, for those of you that's here for a long time, Vasan? Yes. So every 2 months, 3 months, 1 month, there's a miracle that defies medical science, there's a miracle that defies things that occur in this universe. And these miracles occur not because the Guru is great. It occurs because the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Lord, and He shows Himself through the Guru. So this is a reason that this ashram is now recognized in the universities. We met 11 professors at the G20, and we've been invited by every professor to come to his university. We've also met the AU ambassador, and we are invited around Africa to give the same talks that I give here at this ashram. And Vasan, I don't know if you will remember, there were thousands of devotees that came through Nirali, and whenever they had a dispute with the ashram, they mocked our teachings. There were many people that mocked the teachings that I am expounding. And in these few years, 14 years old, but we recognized internationally and academically. And it is a great achievement to be recognized from the outside and not from my devotees. I'm recognized from non-devotees. I'm recognized by Muslims, Christians, Jews, whites, coloreds, Khoisan. We recognize around the world for the simple teachings of Sanatana Dharma. For the simple teachings of Sanatana Dharma, because I never escaped 1 millimeter from the Bhagavad Gita, which is the pocket book of Sanatana Dharma. My teachings are within the parameters of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the summary of Sanatana Dharma. 700 verses, very simple, as I explained last week. I think Nadine was not here. I said when the wife gets up in the morning, Nadine, before she brushes her teeth, 700 verses are already left her mouth. After brushing her teeth, 100,000 verses of the Mahabharata, from where this is part of, has emitted from her mouth. So it can't be difficult for anybody to learn the 700 verses. But I said I'll make it very simple, one verse a day. You got around 2 years to complete the Bhagavad Gita. But yet a wife can do it early in the morning. Yes? And I also said many years ago, Nadine, that the mouth breaks of a wife. If you press the brakes in Marisburg, it will hold in Durban. It will hold in Durban. And I'm talking about the 700 verses. By the time you try to press the brake, and by the time the mouth stops, 700 verses already emitted. I think I'm going to get killed for this button. It was Women's Day recently. Was it? Yes. Yeah. But I'm saying this word, love. I'm saying this word, love. And whilst I got the Bhagavad Gita in my hand, let me just read an appropriate verse. The Supreme Lord is talking. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord speaks 99% of the time, and this is what He has to say. Your Creator, that entity that created you, every breath that you are taking now has been created by this entity who is your Creator. He is speaking in this book. This book is spoken by your Creator. That food, that breakfast that you had this morning, He created that breakfast that you had this morning. You looking at me, that eyes that you are looking at me with, He created that eyes, Naveen. And He also inspired the man who created your glasses, those of you that are wearing glasses. He mobilized you this morning. It is His energy that is coursing through your blood that you are seated here today. He is everything you are today. He gave you everything that you have today. He gave you this body. He gave you everything. This entity is speaking, who is your creator. Who is your creator. And He has to be the most highest authority because He created you. Commonsensical, logical, yes, like the creator of your car, Mercedes-Benz. That handbook in the Mercedes-Benz, can you go against it? If they say your starter takes a size, let me use cylinder head. Let me use cylinder head. If they say your cylinder head have to be topped 90 degrees, 180 degrees, can you use a Toyota's torque of a cylinder head on a Mercedes-Benz? No, you cannot. So I'm talking about your Creator, the Supreme Lord. This is what He is saying in the Bhagavad Gita. And you cannot dispel it. And people are suffering because they don't take the Bhagavad Gita seriously. That is why there is suffering, immense suffering. People cannot sleep. And when they're sleeping, they cannot have a joyous sleep. And when they get up, the entire day is a absolute misery because you're not listening to your Creator. If you put the diesel in a Mercedes-Benz that is petrol, the car will perform. Who's a mechanic here? No mechanics. The car will perform. It will start, it will ignite, but will it give you that efficient performance that you needed when you put diesel? So this is why humanity is suffering. They're not consulting the manual. They're not consulting the manual that was prepared. This is the manual. This is not a Hindu scripture. The Bhagavad Gita is not a Hindu scripture. It is a universal scripture. There's no rituals in the Bhagavad Gita. There's no Om Swaha in the Bhagavad Gita. There's no big howans in the Bhagavad Gita. There's no camphor and clove prayers and lime prayers and monkey ball prayers in the Bhagavad Gita. There is a spiritual science in the Bhagavad Gita that is found. We're celebrating Holi today because of a spiritual science behind Holi. Sanatan Dharma does not believe in any rituals. Sanatan Dharma is your breathing. You are breathing today, it is Sanatan Dharma. If I throw this book up, what's going to happen? It's going to fall. What's going to cause it to fall? Gravity. Do you believe in gravity? If you don't believe in gravity, does gravity still exist?
Yes.
So gravity does not care whether you believe in it or not believe in it. If I don't believe in gravity but I drop this book, what will happen? It will still fall. That is the Supreme Lord for you. Whether you believe in Him, whether you mock Him, whether you think this Guru is an idiot, that spiritual science still exists. Like gravity, it's going to continue to exist. Every word from the Guru's mouth is spoken by the Supreme Lord. You don't have the frequency to see Him. He is because you do not have the frequency to see Him, He speaks to a bona fide spiritual master. Do you understand? There will come a day when you're going to get face to face with the Supreme Lord, either whilst you are alive. If you're intelligent, then whilst you are alive, you can experience the Supreme Lord. And if you're an idiot, you'll still meet the Supreme Lord at death. At death. And he'll ask you, did you hear of Acharya Sam Ramanuj? When I was speaking to you through Acharya Sam Ramanuj, you didn't listen. So you go through that river of stinking pus, rotten flesh. You all heard of a river? Baitrania River. Your soul will take a dive inside. And all those who listen to Acharya Sam Ramanuj, what will happen to their souls? They will fly over the river. And I'm still not talking about Yamraj. You've heard of Yamraj? You got a pot of boiling oil. And all the souls who didn't listen to Acharya Sam Ramanuj will get fried like a bhajia. So those who laughing at the Guru now, Guru got no. Many people are thinking this Guru is insane. But in fact, who's insane? Then when I see you all jumping in the pot, you scream for the Guru. You understand? So take this seriously. Because I have prophesied accurately, have I not? Yes. And the miracles that were performed at this ashram were performed here on this live broadcast. I don't go and perform miracles somewhere in a side. I perform it right here on this live. And we have people here that went through miracles. Yes. And those that have not went through miracles can speak to those who underwent miracles at this satsang. That is scientific, is it not? And you can learn from Nirali, you can learn from Vasan, you can learn from Abir, and you can learn from Yajvan, 5-year-old child. He has a lot of spiritual knowledge. He has a lot of spiritual knowledge. But Guru never does a discourse unless he connects everything. So Prahlad Maharaj was in his mother's womb when he was given a spiritual discourse. His mother was pregnant with Hiranyakashipu's child, and Narad Muni, the spiritual master on the divine side, went to the ashram and he spoke to Hiranyakashipu's wife, and through her ears, and this is what I want you to understand scientifically, that although she was the wife of a demon, she was the wife of a demon, her child was a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. How did that happen? Do you see it today? In today's life, you see demonic parents, divine children, or demonic children and divine parents. Do you see it? Yes, the science. I'm giving you the science. It's here. It's in Sanatan Dharma. See, 5-year-old Prahlad Maharaj. We'll keep his initiated name Prahlad. Only thing, no meat, my boy. No burgers, no McDonald's, no chicken, no Nando's. Okay? And he was such a divine child, his father stopped drinking because of him. Because when he was 4, he came and told me, my father uses the polystyrene cup to make cheers. So he cured his father's drinking, that's his divinity because he was listening here. He was listening here from 3 years old. And this is the importance of satsang and why your children should be in satsang. Because a family that prays together stays together. You understand? So all that science is in here in the Bhagavad Gita and related stories like Holi today. Every time there is a significant function for society, the Supreme Lord creates a story. So Prahlad Maharaj at the age of 5, he knew the entire Vedas. He knew the entire Vedas. And there's 2 types of Gurukuls. One is a divine Gurukul, which a bona fide spiritual master who's following the Supreme Lord 100%, and there is a non-divine Gurukul. Non-divine Gurukul. So in this modern age, Gurukuls were spiritual universities. But in this modern age, do we have spiritual universities? So who becomes the Gurukul? Your family, your mother, your father, your grandfather, they teach you. A divine family will teach you divinity. A non-divine family will teach you Nirali, non-divinity. There's only 2 types of people that exist in this world. Divine people and non-divine people. There's no other people in between. No other people in between. And now to quickly state that I was an atheist for over 30 years. I want to bring that in. So I was non-divine for over 30 years. I was in the military. I had a gun, and I remember pulling the trigger. Okay? So this is where I'm coming from. I'm not casting any aspersions on any particular person or family or community. I'm saying I was there. I got the greatest experiences because I was on the extremes of spirituality. So my anchor, my spiritual anchor is well poised. Yes, well poised to teach you, because my title is Acharya. Acharya means a bona fide spiritual master who teaches through his own experience. I don't preach what I didn't practice. I don't preach what I didn't practice. Everything I'm teaching you, I underwent, both materially and spiritually. So there's 2 types of mindsets. We have the divine mind and we have the demonic mind. The divine mind will be anchored in righteousness. The non-divine mind will be anchored in unrighteousness. And this 2 has to come together. This 2 has to come together. And I think it is appropriate for me to explain that we have 4 seasons called Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapara Yug and Kali Yug. In Satyug, the divine and the non-divine lived in 2 separate entities in Satyug. In Treta Yug, the divine and the non-divine lived in the same planet. And in Dwapara Yug, the divine and the non-divine lived in the same family. And in Kali Yuga, which we are now experiencing, which has a lifespan of 432,000 years, of which 5,000 years has elapsed. We still have 427,000 years to go in Kali Yuga. The divine and the non-divine is residing within you. Where it's residing? Within you. You can be divine, you can be non-divine, and is that not what's happening? Wasn't behaving properly for 1 week, what it means? Is divine. And then for 2 days he goes off, what it means? Is non-divine. No outside Satan from somewhere. It's Vasan who's the Satan, and it's Vasan who's the Supreme Lord. Yes? So now the divine and the non-divine is existing within each individual. And the job of the Guru is to sift out the divine and the non-divine. Because your mind is like that game we used to play when we were small. I don't know if the game still exists. It used to have a bead, and there were grooves that takes the bead to the center. And every time you shake it and you hold it at one angle, the bead will run and go to the center. That is how your mind is grooved. Your mind is grooved. So sometimes it is very difficult for you during self-analysis to understand your non-divinity. Because everyone wants to say, I am, right? I never heard Nirali in the past 10 years. I don't know if her father heard in her whole life. Nirali said, sorry Dad, I'm wrong. And Navi, don't worry, you said you were the Guru. You are said you were the Guru. I'm sure Naveen is waiting for the day to hear his daughter say, sorry Dad, I made a mistake. But the Guru can make it happen, Naveen. Maybe on the way before you out of the gate today, there'll be a huge confession. It's because of the mind, that I am right mind, that I am always right mind. There's a groove that the thought kicks in and says always that I am right, without analyzing what is right and wrong. It is just about you. Just about you. Jessica Satish is nodding in the back there. I don't know who in his family is acknowledging. I'm just saying, Jessica, you his wife. I don't know, but I'm just checking. Alright? But when you come to a satsang, we give you scientific teachings to show that you are not always right. Right is always right. You can either be right or wrong. There's my Prahlad Maharaj again. Boy, no burgers, no sausages, no eggs, no McDonald's. Then I'll initiate you in May. Alright? I'll initiate you in May. So Prahlad Maharaj was his age when his father sent him to Gurukul. And what you think he did in the Gurukul? He started teaching all the other demon children righteousness. And when the teachers heard that Prahlad was teaching, because that is the duty of a righteous person. So as soon as somebody becomes a disciple, you all have experienced this. As soon as you become a bona fide disciple in an ashram, what you do? It is natural that you go tell your family, hey, I'm going to an ashram, the Guru is so great, hey, this is his teaching, come. Is it not natural? It's a natural. Righteousness is a natural thing that emits from you to make other people understand what you are feeling. But does it work, Jessica? No. It's there, but it doesn't work. You can bang your head on your family's coffee table or kitchen table or dining table. You're just hurting yourself. Your righteousness, what you have, is the impulse of the soul to tell other people and gather other people. But you don't stop. You must continue, because look at what I went through. I had one disciple here, he could write my discourse in a poetry form whilst I was discoursing. During Aarti, he could send it to the world. He could. That preaching is a thankless task, part 1. When he reached part 31, he proved it. He proved it by him not appreciating the preaching itself. Do you understand? So preaching is a thankless task. You can love me today if you want something. And once I point out a few defects in you, you can hate me for the rest of your life. It's about context. It's about where you are in your relationship with me. All right? When I finish, if you came here for a Porsche and I gave you a Porsche, and I scolded you after giving you your Porsche, you came here for a Porsche, I gave you your Porsche, then I showed you a character defect. I said, I gave you such a nice Porsche, why are you wheel spinning? What will you do? Will I see you again? Because there's no need to come to me again. Why? You got what you wanted. When you get what you want, then you become complacent, then the Guru is not needed anymore. But if I gave you one rim of the Porsche first, then after 1 year I gave you another rim, and after 20 years you got your Porsche, how long you'll be with me? You'll be with me for 20 years. That is why I stopped giving Porsches. Before, my halls were full, because if you came to me, I gave you your Porsche, same time. Coming back to Prahlad, his father was a demon, Hiranya Kasipu. He believed he is greater than God. Anyone who do not believe in the Supreme Lord, anyone who do not believe in the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Creator means they are greater than the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Creator. Logical? Logical? It means you, your family, your great family, everyone is superior than the Supreme Lord. So you follow tradition from your family. And let me quickly talk about your generation going backward. So the first two people, husband and wife, when you go back, you go to your parents. And when you go further back, you go to your, and when you go further back, you go to your, okay. In 300 years of the first two, husband and wife, in 300 years going backwards, do you know how many ancestors you have? Anyone? Approximately 4,000. How many? 4,000. Then just look at our population today. What is the world population today? How many billion? How many billion? Say 8 billion hypothetically times 400,000. Can you imagine how big that is? today 8 billion people going back 300 years. How many ancestors we all had? You think acknowledging our ancestors is a spiritual thing? Acknowledging our ancestors, is it a spiritual thing?
Yes.
Look how many ancestors going back 300 years. If we had 4,000 ancestors, look at the walk of the ancestors to us. How much did that 4,000 ancestors suffer through their life for us to be sitting here today? And it's not too long ago. We're not talking thousands and thousands. We're talking 300 years, 4,000 ancestors. How great their suffering would have been from, it's 2020, 5 now, minus 300 years. Not too long ago, Jessica, that amount of ancestors. Is there a need to keep them spiritualized? Yes. Because everything we do, we are part of them. The DNA is vibrating within our system. The DNA is continuously vibrating through our system. And I was talking about the European culture. In the European culture, there is no acknowledgement of any ancestors. And if you acknowledge your ancestor, they say you are demon worshipping, don't they? And Helen Zeller said, there's 2 quotes in a book. And in one of the quotes, she is stating that there is no thrill and exhilaration in serving humanity. Is that true or false? If you serve humanity, and the reason God created serving humanity my former chairperson is not here, I should always refer to him, but I'm sure he's hiding and watching the discourse. I always said, when you do service to humanity, it is to soften your granite heart. It is to soften your granite heart. When you get a thrill, that thrill is not going and advertising or going on TikTok and say, I've read 2 people. That I'm not talking about that thrill. I'm talking about a transactional thrill. And this is why in Sanatana Dharma they say, don't take a pot of food and go leave it somewhere. Feed the people yourself. There must be a transaction between you and the person that you are feeding. That person's gratitude that you are feeding increases your positive energy. But Helen Zeller is stating, no, serving humanity must come through structures. And this is, she's supporting what I'm saying, that the Europeans have no compassion for the poor, for black people, for Asian people, for Indian people, and they only have compassion for their people, the European elite. They only have compassion for their people who are poorer than them, so that they can get a majority in what they are doing. You understand? There's also very, very poor Europeans. Yes or no? Around the world, are they not very poor Europeans?
Yes.
But the elite embraces the poor Europeans so that they have somebody in their camp. They have somebody in their camp. And they brought this to Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma had social structures. The social structures were Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. These structures put in any race, any religion in any part of the country. You have to have the priestly class, yes. You have to have the governing class, yes. You have to have the commercial class, yes. And you have to have the labor force, yes. So around the world, this is a scientific social necessity. What the Europeans did when they conquered India or colonized India is they made that into custom division. Did they not divide the people of India by saying that that is the Brahmins, the lower caste and the Sudras and all this caste system they created, because they created that amongst themselves first. They created it amongst themselves. They wanted to be superior in every way so that they can be in control in every way. So I'm just bringing in, every week I bring in the Europeans, they're my best topic, because my intention is to, what is my intention? Is to dislodge the false belief that they are superior. So I'm started that from this ashram. I think it's going around the world. I'm seeing on TikTok, I'm getting a lot of response that I'm bringing the white race down. And it's my intention to bring them to their senses, like I'm bringing Sanatan Dharma, Dharmis and Hindus, so-called Hindus, I'm bringing them to their senses. I'm also bringing the Europeans to their senses that they are not superior, they are no different from us. And I want you to go and Google how many things black people invented. And when I say black, I'm saying Africans. Africans invented more than half of the inventions in the world today. Do you know that? The robo you stop at every day to work, how many robos you go to? That green, amber and red, invented by a black man. Many facets of the internet invented by blacks. Do you know that? Do you know that? Why is it suppressed? When a white man sneezes, he wants the world to know how great he is because he sneezed. Yes? But look at these inventions. So it is our duty to uplift the spirits of the black people and bring them back to the former glory. You understand? It is our duty. Black people are intelligent, but the Europeans have made them, they have colonized their minds to think that they are non-intelligent, poverty-stricken. No, blacks are very, very intelligent. I have sat with them at the highest levels in this country. I've sat with black professors, I've sat with black academics, I sat with black politicians. It's not what you read in the media. Blacks are extremely intelligent. It is the colonized mind that has given them that consciousness in what they exist today. And it is the duty of the ashram to re-spiritualize or re-establish black spirituality or African spirituality. And today is significant. Holi is significant because scientifically, when we throw all these colors and when we mess each other up, can you distinguish who belongs to which race? You cannot. So next year, I want to celebrate Holi at the Sirapad grounds. I want to put a tent at Sirapad grounds. You'll need to start working from now so you can get the grounds, get the tent. Then I'm going to bring all races, all religions, and everyone. And we're going to mess each other. We're going to mess each other, and we're going to have fun in creating one identity. And that will be the identity of a rainbow nation. Sorry, India, they don't have what Guru has here in South Africa. I have all the races, all the cultures, all the traditions, okay? And again, I want you to go and research in Google who were the first people that had slanted eyes. You'll find it is the origins of the Chinese nation is in Africa. They were Africans, you understand? And in the Mahabharata, they talk about slanted eyes and yellowish skin. That is 5,000 years ago. They're talking about the Mongolians, you understand? But the Vedas have no description of a race. The Vedas have no description of a race. Race is non-existent at creation. Race is non-existent at creation. And you know the two continents, India broke away from Africa. India broke away from Africa, and in South India and Sri Lanka and Africa, we find we are all the same color. Because we're in the same distance from the equator, we're the south, and this is why we have attained this pigmentation. Not through race, through the sun and the chemical called melanin in our skin. I'm saying this every week because I want to bring into context that God is not involved in race. All these race-related incidents in the world right now, God is not involved. Neither is He involved in any religious battles. God is not involved in any religious battles. How many years is Palestine and Israel? How many years is that battle? Is it from the time of the Bible? Is it there? Why has God not intervened? Not His fight. If one or the other was true, then God would have intervened. Yes or no? Do you understand? There is not an ant on this planet that God does not feed. Do you know that? Do you know how many million or how many zillion ants there are in this planet? What you can do, Nirali, are you afraid of ants? Okay, Nirali is brave. Only snakes and cats. Okay, let me give you a snake story. Let me give you a snake story. It's part of Holi. Last night, Mataji heard a sound in her room. And my aircon, the piping runs through her room and comes out. And she heard a tugging sound at the piping. So she ran into my room and she told me something is making a noise. And I got up and I could hear something is making a noise. So I moved the curtain and I saw the tail of the snake going up and down. And if the tail was so thick and it was black, then it was a black mamba that was trying to come. And Mataji said, hey, Vasan's boys, they never cement the place. That is why the snake is coming through. He said when they put the aircon in Westbull, they did a very, very good job. They cemented it, but yeah, she can't understand why Vasan's boys did not cement. And that snake. So about 3 times I opened and I saw the tail is making a noise. So I didn't want to see the head. Right? But I remember a lot of snakes come there. I said last week, didn't I say last week, that because the vibration is neutral in my kutir, snakes don't feel anything, they come through. Then I came and I got Sherwin up and I told Sherwin, you know what, get the two boys up in the bag and let them tackle the snake. So Sherwin went around and he came back and he told me, Dad, that's not a snake. Somebody stole the copper wire. They were trying to break the copper. So that black that I saw is the wrapping that Basan puts around copper, and a small piece of it was broken. So when so I asked Mataji if the window is open, and she said yes. I said there's a big snake trying to get in with such a force because they were trying to twist the copper to break the copper. So can you imagine the force and the noise it was making? She ran, and when she closed the window, they realized that someone is away. So when I came back into the room, she said the snake stopped making a noise. It's because they ran away. So that's, see how interested everyone is in the story. Please show the same interest when I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita. If you show this interest in the Bhagavad Gita, how spiritualized you can get. So I'm going to round up. I had another verse that I wanted to read. So again, this is your Creator speaking. The very breath that you take is from this Creator, and this is what He is advising you. He's saying, therefore let the Shastra be your authority for determining what should be done and what should not be done. What is he saying? Let the Shastra. What is Shastra? What is Shastra? Scriptures. The Supreme Lord, your Creator, He is instructing you, He is telling you, therefore let the Shastra be your authority for determining what should be done and what should not be done. Knowing what is enjoined in the injunctions of the Shastra, you should perform work here. When he say work here, it means action, your service. So God is telling you, don't listen to that, go backward in that 4,000 ancestors that you have. If you go back 300 years, your 4,000 ancestors there, don't go to them. Go to the scripture. Go to the scripture and let the scripture tell you what should be done and what should not be done. This is an instruction from the Supreme Lord. So let me just conclude the Prahlad story. So Hiranyakasipu tried to murder his son because his son had acknowledged the Supreme Lord Vishnu. His son acknowledged the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and he tried everything he tried, every manner he tried. He threw him in a pit full of snakes. He didn't die. He threw him down a cliff. He didn't die. All right? And then he asked his son, if your God is so great, let him appear through the pillar. And the Supreme Lord appeared from the pillar, and he ripped Hiranyakasipu's entrails out. He came in the form of a lion. He had the head of a lion and the body of a human. He carried him on his lap and he ripped his entrails off. Because Hiranyakasipu had a boon from Lord Brahma that he must not be killed in the day, he must not be killed in the night, he must not be killed in the ground, he must not be killed in air. Yes? So who you think went into Hiranyakasipu and made those boons? Father? The Lord himself, because he lives in you. He lives in you. So he made those bones and then he bypassed those bones because he caught him on his lap. He was not on the ground, he was not on the air, and it was not day, it was not night, and he killed him. So you think you can be more intelligent than the Lord? Huh? Because the Lord will still lead you astray. In whatever you are doing, if you don't follow the Lord will come into you and lead you astray like what he did Hiranyakasipu. So when you're having your lunch, I want you to remember this part that I'm saying. He gorged out the entrails of Hiranyakasipu. His large intestine, small intestine, his spleen, liver, everything was gorged out, and have a happy lunch. This is what the Supreme Lord will do. This is what the Supreme Lord will do if you do not follow Scripture. If you do not follow Scripture, every day you lie to yourself. And one day you'll be a very old man or a very old lady living through a lie. Living through a absolute lie. So these stories take place. The Supreme Lord comes down. The Supreme Lord comes down and it becomes a movie. It becomes a movie. This movie is your way of life. It's a scientific way of life. And where I started, I want to end, I said that there is no Satan. There is no individual as Satan. It can never be. It can never be. That doctrine must be erased. It must be thrown away. So if I'm saying there can be no Satan, then who is Hiranyakasipu? If I'm saying there is no entity that can go into the boxing ring with the Supreme Lord, then who is Hiranyakasipu? Sorry? Hiranyakasipu and his brother are doorkeepers of the Supreme Lord. Who will you give the duty to be your doorkeeper? Your most trusted or your least trusted? Your most trusted. Hiranyakasipu is Jaya and Vijaya. They are doorkeepers of the Supreme Lord in Vaikuntha. When the four Kumaras who represent the Guru system, I said the Guru system is the third creation. Remember I said that millions of times? The Guru system in the hierarchy is number 3 in creation. These Kumaras represent the Guru system. They are the first-born children of Lord Brahma. When they went into Vaikuntha, they were stopped by Jaya and Vijaya. And because they were stopped by Jaya and Vijaya, they cursed Jaya and Vijaya to come down to earth. To come down to earth. And curse is karma. Curse is karma. They had the opportunity to come down and live on earth 7 lifetimes as divine beings or 3 lifetimes as non-divine beings. So they chose to go back to work faster. And to go back to work faster, 3 lifetimes. But the 3 lifetimes they had to play the part of a demon. They had to play the part of a demon. So Ravana, Hiranyakasipu, Shushuma, These are the 3 lives they took, the twin brothers or the doorkeepers, and every time God came down and had a boxing match with them and God won. You understand? Is it logical? If you want to teach somebody, how you teach somebody? You have to teach them through your own example. So there's no real demonic singular personality. It is humans who are both demonic and divine, and through discourses like this, if you continue attending discourses like this, if you take an iron and put it in fire, what quality the iron will finally have? Fire. If the fire is 100 degrees Celsius and you put an iron in that 100 degrees Celsius fire, what quality will the iron have? The same quality as the fire, because both are 100 degrees. And if you keep coming to satsang like this, then what will happen to your consciousness? It will become the same as the Guru's consciousness. Yes? Because you are in the proximity of spirituality. If you want to become spiritual, you can't light, nobody became spiritual by lighting a globe and saying, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. You never come spiritual. You just wasted. Well, camphor is good because the reason camphor was invented, it was to kill the germs, bacteria in the air. That's why we got camphor. And that's the same reason we got clove. Wasn't not to put 2 cloves on a camphor and light it and one jump was inside, but hey, my life is right. No, wasn't. That is to kill the germs in the air. Both camphor and clove have properties to kill the germ in the air. You have to come into proximity. If you want to learn law, can you go sit in a doctor's surgery and help the doctor to give injections? Will you learn law by helping the doctor to give injections? Where you must go? You must go to law school. Only in law school can you learn law. Similarly, if you want spirituality, if you want to become a righteous being, then you must go to an ashram which has a bona fide spiritual master, not Pandit Chunilal and Munilal. They just come, sing, and they're gone. After the song, what happens? After the bhajans, what happens? But halls are, because who came? You understand? It's like going to school. You know, I was in the apartheid time, we used to go to school, then we should stand in the front and sing the national anthem. How many of you remember that? If you sang the national anthem every day at school and went back home, would you learn anything if you don't go in the classes? So this is Pandit Chunilal and Munilal, and I don't know how many other lals. But our Indians in South Africa, they love this. If somebody come with an orange dhoti and one tabla player with a harmonium, they don't know one bit of English, but I see Hindus running after this. Because they come here, make a lot of money, go in the village and say, hey, South African got stupid Indians. And in the village, nobody even knows them, you understand? So we need to, this is part of our function. Whilst we are enlightening the world and other religions and interfaith, part of our function is to educate our own people. Educate Sanatan Dharmi. So this is what I'm going to propose. When I go and meet the Speaker of Parliament, this is what I'm going to propose. You can't force religion or spirituality fast into anyone. And remember in Parliament, from the 400 parliamentarians there, how many are rogues? About 350 rogues. So I need to get a majority for this bill to be passed. So I can't take God and shove it down the throat. They're not going to accept us. So we're going to say that recognize the interfaith in South Africa. The first thing we're going to say, Parliament must recognize the interfaith in South Africa. You think that's the first priority, Jessica?
Yes.
because we want to be structured and we want to be structurally known. Then we're going to say Parliament. I think they have 4 sessions a year. At the end and at the beginning and end of every session, they must have an interfaith prayer. You think that's right?
Yeah.
Beginning of every session of Parliament, you start with the interfaith prayer, and when you finish with the interfaith prayer. Then we say that law must also go to our provincial government, and that law must also go to our municipalities. What will happen when we bring in God into all our structures? What do you think will happen? You understand? And then, for example, Heritage Day. Heritage Day, every province must have an interfaith prayer, every district and municipality must have a event, not prayer, event, and nationally there must be one national event. So on Heritage Day, at the same time, it must start at the same time. We say from 10 to 12, the entire country must be in spirituality. What will happen to the consciousness of this country? Every time they do that hand that's going into the cookie jar, what do you think will happen?
The spiritual masters are watching you.
What will happen to the hand that's going into the cookie jar?
Just say,
All the money is depleted. If they went for this 2% VAT hike and it's 0.5%, ANC stole everything. Yes?
yeah.
There's no money. So we need to reconfigure how the country can get its money back. And we are the money. You and I is the money that goes into the fiscus. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So when we spiritualize our efforts in this country, what will happen? By end of the year, how far you think the hand in the cookie jar will be if we doing our interfaith prayers? First, the hand will just be in the jar touching. Next prayer, it will leave. Eventually, by end of the year, the hand will be far away from the cookie jar. And as long as the hand is not in the cookie jar, we ordinary South Africans, we can live a prosperous life. Okay? So remember I said this first at the ashram. Then when we meet them, we're going to ask them to implement it. I'm also going to speak to other religious leaders from across the board. When I go there, I'm not going there as if it's my project, although I'm initiating it. Interfaith means everyone. I don't want to go meet them quietly there and come back and make a deal. Because I think these people have capacity to give me the best land. Maybe they'll give me a big land in Belito. They'll build my ashram. And they say, Guru, don't implement this policy in Parliament. Jai Shri Manara.